One time this workshop, I bring my car in. He opened my front trunk. He sees nothing. He opens my boot. He sees nothing. He looks at me. Where's your engine? If your workshop can't find the engine of your car,
You know already, you're in very deep trouble.
Hello everybody, welcome back to an episode of PP Popo Podcast. I'm your host Tao,
I'm Cici.
and today we have another guest, who is Mr. Guoy, and welcome. Sorry about that, it's a bit awkward, I know. I'm not really used to being the host, right? I have to get used to it. But yeah, Mr. Guoy here, who is also a IT consultant, is that? I think that's correct,
yes,
right?
yes.
And this is the interesting thing because he's an IT consultant. He's not really in the industry, like the automotive industry. But throughout, we went through a lot of guests. We used to have a lot of guests, and then we found out him through the guests and all, which is quite interesting. So that's why we invited him into this podcast to know more about him. So I wanted to learn a few things about you first. So you're an IT consultant. So what really gets you into this motorsports and this automotive sides of the things? What decided you to get
Well,
here?
when I was young, I used to play a lot of video games.
Yeah.
Then mostly racing games. So that's how it started, playing racing games. Then initially, during my teenage years, college years, playing initially. So like most guys, we are all very enthusiastic about cars.
Yeah. Like we used to play a lot of games and all that. I used to play the game called Need for Speed as well. That's one of it as well. So from there, it kind of derives you into this interest. Yeah. By the way, the mic get closer. Yeah.
Sound check.
Like this. Okay, it's okay. We can cut that out. So you start to have this interest on cars and all way back when you were young and all. So how do you get access to those kind of things? Is it you get yourself or your parents get it for you?
You mean the video games and all?
Yeah.
During that time, all I can remember is I bought the games myself. We do have computers at home. Then high school days, college days, anime initially. Then we used to go to arcade with friends.
Are your parents the type of typical Asians that force you to have good grades and don't play much game?
Not really.
Oh.
Because both were foreign and English educated.
So they are okay with you playing all those games and then
Oh, my father himself still play games nowadays.
Okay, like father like son.
Okay. So from the games and all, it kind of inspired you to do this?
We can say spark the interest.
Sparks the interest. Okay. So I assume that you get all the knowledge about the motorsports and all from games and all. Is there any other source that you get those knowledge?
I think like most people, games, magazines, television, F1.
What makes gaming so interested for you? What's the feature that you're most fascinated about?
What I like is the accuracy of the simulation, the physics, how the car feels in the game. Then most recent games are quite really accurate, so you get to feel the difference of different cars.
Okay.
Go through different tracks.
Which car will you choose
Well,
in every game?
mostly I would choose a mid-engine layout, rear-wheel drive.
Okay.
That's your top number one, lah. If other cars, then you won't have any interest in it, lah.
Bias on mid-engine rear-wheel drive, because of front engine or FF layout, different characteristic, different preference.
So how do you transition from just playing games into actually doing like those?
Okay,
cars?
of course, started with playing games. Then, since young, there's a dream of actually having one of the cars in the game. So,
Oh.
saving up. Then, once I have enough money, then start looking for the car. Because this kind of classic sport cars, it's not something can you just go ahead and buy. You still need to restore it. There are certain things that you need to redo, repair. So you need cash in hand. It's not something that you can
It's still money.
get a loan or something.
So those cars are like classic 90s, 80s cars. Okay, so what's the car that you're driving right now?
I have 1992 Toyota MR2.
MR2. Okay, so how do you get that?
I just went and buy it.
Why makes you choose that car? Why that car? Why not others? But why that specifically that?
It started with initially playing initially. Okay, there are a lot of cars, but the MR2 it's different because it's mid-engine. It feels different, so that's how it started the interest in it. So since then I always wanted to have an MR2, so I started saving. Then being such an old car from the 90s, it definitely would be a lot of work to redo.
Okay.
So it's not something that you can just get a loan and buy. You need to have cash in hand to repair.
What was like the condition of the car when you get it?
Oh, I'm lucky because the one I got is very stock. The previous owners never did any modifications.
So it's all original.
Everything original. I would like to emphasize that the previous owners didn't do anything. So things that were broken were also not fixed,
Okay,
never
so-
properly maintained. So really did nothing to the car.
But
So
you
you-
still take it, right?
Yeah, it's easier to restore back a non-modified one than a modified one because you don't know what has been done previously.
Yeah. So what are the modifications that you have to make to actually make the car drivable?
A lot of things I did was to restore it back to stock.
Back
Oh,
to
you-
stock.
Restore
Back
it
to
back to
original.
stock.
Restore it back to original, like the aircon system, the wiring, because there were some modifications to maintain functionality, but it was poorly done.
Oh. Okay. So like, how do you modify them? Did you do it yourself, or you send to workshops and all?
Well, first I need to understand the car.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
was it supposed to be originally? So,
Yeah.
during my free time, I will open up the dash, look at the engine bay, whatever I can do myself, research myself, go through myself, I do myself. Then anything that I can't do, then I'll send it to the workshop. Then since I already gone through what's wrong, what needs to be done, it's a bit easier for them because this car is not common. Then having an MR layout where the engine is behind the driver, it's not really common or same like normal cars.
Yeah.
Some wiring difference, piping difference.
So those wirings and all. Since you're an IT consultant, so you kind of have the knowledge.
Yes,
to
yes.
do
The,
those, right?
the initial IT knowledge does help a bit on diagnosing the
How
problems.
so does it help? Because in my knowledge, is like IT is more on computers, and then now you're applying on automotive.
Cars and computers are very similar in terms that both still run on 12 volt.
12 volt.
12 volt. So a lot of 90s cars, 80 cars, the way the wiring is done, the communication, the parts are very similar to our desktop computers.
Oh,
Like
okay.
the type of wiring, the fans.
Yeah.
So because of that, the similarity, so you kind of
Similarity.
know
Yes, the base knowledge is there, so I can know, if a wire doesn't seem right, out of place, or the connector is broken.
So from there, so other than those wirings and all, then you only send to workshops and then let them figure it out.
Like
themselves.
body parts, mechanical parts, stuff that I do not have the tools or the knowledge. But stuff that I do, I can actually diagnose first, figure out what's wrong. And then if it's beyond my capability, then I'll send it to the workshop.
There is another significant element in his car though, because just now we mentioned initial D. It's obviously your initial D fan already, right? So in his car, there's a little cup holder with a paper cup inside. That is the cup holder that you mentioned to me before is the original initial D.
Yeah, I managed to found back the same
Same.
cup holder
Oh,
from a shop that sells Japanese products.
okay.
Then
I
you
think it
just
was
put it
in-
in.
yeah.
Then that was your baby, your treasure, one of your treasure already, right? Then I remember you mentioned to me before, you basically design your own car, right? From the color, and then you spray the rubber, all those you do it yourself.
Okay, I took a template from the owner's manual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I make a draft design out of it.
Yeah.
And then I painted the colors of my car. Lah. Then
Why not give other people help you do the colors? Why you have to paint yourself?
oh, well, if I can, why not I do it myself?
No.
Mm.
Okay.
You trust yourself more, lah. You say that? Oh, okay. So that's the car that you use to drive around and all. Do you actually use it for like actual like sports and all?
Okay, before the COVID period, I
Yeah.
frequently bring the car to track.
Oh, you frequently bring the car to track?
Sepang.
Okay. So you actually race with the car.
No, we don't call it racing. Usually it's just a track day. So we bring the car. I mean,
Test drive. Test the. Is it called as testing or?
yes, we can say we are testing the car, pushing the car to the limit, but more of enjoying the car in a safe environment, a controlled environment.
Because the track has like the medical teams. And
Correct.
Okay.
Talking about track, some people may say that the fees for a track day is expensive. What other people don't know is when you pay for a track day, there are cranes standby, tow trucks standby, ambulance, fire trucks, and what I know, almost every track day I go, there are always 2 doctors on standby.
Ooh.
Wow, so there's a lot of safety precautions.
Right,
But,
correct.
but I did heard from other races before, they mentioned that usually they will rent for 4 hours instead of the 2 hours, right?
Okay, there are different packages offered by different organizers. Okay, but Sefang itself either rents it for a whole day or a per hour slot. Okay, what I know now is Sepang track days on their own is 1 hour slots. I think it's around 300 ringgit.
Oh, okay.
Then organizers would sometimes book the track for the whole day. Then they'll create their own packages. So like you mentioned, there are 4-hour packages, 6-hour packages.
Okay, usually which package will you choose?
We used to go for the 4-hour packages
Why not? Why 4 hours? Wouldn't you get tired?
because we
1
will
hours.
get tired, so we have time to rest. So if we get a 1-hour package, of course you want to make use of the whole hour. You keep on going out, and you get tired. So during the early days, we thought, okay, 4 hours is good. We can go out, come back, rest, go out again. But after a while, we stop going for these 4-hour packages because there are a lot of people. Usually 80 to 100 cars. Then
You will affect your.
there are some first timers, inexperienced drivers. Then there's also car problems that you cannot foresee. So if one car, let's say, miscue or breaks down in the track, they have to red flag it. Then everyone has to come out of the track. We have to wait for them to clear the car.
Usually will take how long?
Depending on how severe, but usually it's around 5-10 minutes.
5-10.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
So you're waiting there 5-10 minutes, then you get to go out. Then another car,
Crash again.
another 5-10 minutes. So for the full 4 hours, you usually have less than 45 minutes of track time.
4 hours, only 45 minutes of track time.
Or depending on how severe, lah, but
Wow.
that's our experience.
You pay 300 oh.
So yeah lah. So the 1 hour track day is also around 300. But during that 1 hour slot, there are like only 5 cars for the whole track.
Wow, then it's more shock ah.
So after that, we stopped taking those 4-hour packages and we go for the Sepang 1 hour
Smart.
slots.
Nice. But usually, have you have any experience of you being in one of the crash touch wood?
I did spun out once in Sepang.
Spun out, yeah, but it's
No, nothing major.
For
Not
those-
enough for them to raise a red flag.
For those that don't know yet, he doesn't have any crash experience inside the circuit, but outside the circuit, he often get banged by other people. But why we know each other? Because that time I was in a workshop, and then suddenly he drive in, and then he told the mechanic he got T-bone by another driver. Then from that day onwards, I realized that he has a multiple of this kind of experience. So your luck, oh, car so nice, got price to pay one. Oh. Okay, continue.
So from there, you just kind of smoothed into the tracking, the race tracking. So you kind of got into the community. Is that the motorsport community?
Okay, it started by having the car itself, then trying to restore it, then going to workshop to workshop to workshop. Because, like some of you know, not all workshops are honest or sincere.
Yeah.
Then some
there's
workshops
stereotypes.
actually don't really know what they're doing. I mean, some will say, yes, we can do for you, but you know, they're also touch and go.
Touch and go.
So
Have you-
finally moving to one workshop that is
Trustworthy.
sincere and honest, because the owner itself previously also had the same issue. So he was like, you know, why not just open my own?
Since you mentioned like this, means you met before those mechanics that don't know what they're doing. So how do you deal with it?
You move on to the next one, and
You didn't complain, or maybe?
well, you can only complain so much, do so much.
Then what if they already took your car and then they said, oh, we know how to do, but then they did it, but it didn't actually work.
And that has happened to me a few times. So
You pay? Yeah, you still pay?
well, the work is already done.
Done.
The parts are already installed. So you can't
No
say you
choice,
don't
huh?
pay, but
So it's like you go to a barber shop and then you have a bad hair day.
yeah, they can't stick back your hair.
Then you have to move on.
You have to
to
move
another
on to
shop.
a different. Yes, it's very similar.
But yours is more expensive case than the barber hair cut.
So
Okay.
from like jumping to workshop, then finally jump to a proper workshop that do racing, not racing, but like modification on those motorsports things. So
Okay, the workshop that we've been mentioning is actually SPV Automotive. Okay.
SPV Automotive. Okay.
They actually has a race team that
The owner itself is a racer.
yes participates in the MSF series. They've won a few championships before.
Ooh. That's why you decided to trust them, or
It's more of the work they've done for my car, because previously I went to one workshop, then there's something that need to be done that he acknowledged that he can't do, so he forwarded me to SPV. So that's how I knew SPV.
Okay.
oh, that's lucky.
Well, thinking back about my experience with other workshops, one time this workshop I bring my car in, he opened my front trunk, he sees nothing. He opens my boot, he sees nothing. He looks at me, where's your engine? If your workshop can't find the engine of your car,
You know already, you're in very big trouble. Because for those that don't know, your engine is actually behind.
in the middle,
In the
behind the
middle,
driver,
yeah.
yes.
So that mechanic actually opened the front and the back, but then he still can't find your engine. Then how you explain?
Then I opened the center part and show him the
You still let him
engine.
do. You still let him do your car.
That time was just something minor, so it was still okay.
Okay.
But after that, eventually I did move on to someone else.
So naturally, because you're interested in motorsports, race car and all, so you kind of join into their community. Like how are they actually? How is the community?
Well, Malaysia automotive community is very niche, very sparse. There's not one big group, but instead there's a lot of small groups that focus on specific things.
Okay, so there's no like a big community. There's more like there's like a small community from here, there.
I would say the community itself is large, but it's made up of a lot of small groups.
What kind of groups? What kind of small? Because just now you mentioned specific small groups.
Okay, we have, for example, groups that focus on exterior, groups that focus on interior, groups that focus on being purist, original, groups on performance, groups in racing, etc., etc.
So they all focus on different parts of the aspects of the
Different
car.
aspects, different school of thought.
Okay, so because for me, right, the idea I have for these kind of communities is that they are very, how should I say, very hard to approach because they are very tough and sometimes a bit too not friendly, and they're very competitive free aggro. Is that true?
Impression.
Yeah,
There
that's our
are
impression.
groups that are aggressive and hard to approach, but there are also groups that are very open. Like one group I know is the MyV's club.
Oh,
That one is quite big, and that one they're quite open.
But like that, I think like a few years ago there was a news about MyV's club where they got into trouble for racing on the
No.
street,
I think that there is a different club.
Oh, that is a different MyV club.
So like I said, there are many small groups that each focus on their own thing. So the group you mentioned may be, like you say, a racing
Racing.
MyV club, but the group, the MyV own club that I know is actually quite friendly, quite big, and they are focused on what I can see is more on outlook and maintenance.
Then how about your own community? The
Okay,
community that you-
I myself in a very small group. It's more for technical aspect of my car, my Toyota MR2. So there's only like 10, 20 of us. Then we focus on restoration, maintenance.
It's more like restoring the old cars.
Yes.
Okay.
Figure out what's wrong, problem solving, getting parts.
So those are the people that you kind of learn or like get to know from the SPV.
Yeah, so we learn with each other, because like some of us have more knowledge on the mechanical side. I have more knowledge on the electronic side. Then we have members that used to work in Japan, used to be in Japan. They have contacts to bring parts in.
Okay. So it's like a community helping each other.
Yes,
lah.
yes.
I see. So would you say that all of them is actually nice people? You know?
There are groups that are toxic.
Your own
Toxic.
community. Yeah.
Okay. For ours, we are very picky on who we allow to join our group.
What's the requirements to join your group?
Willing to learn,
Uh-huh.
willing to listen, then has some background technical knowledge.
Usually within the group, what kind of activities will you do? Then people need to learn from, or
We have our group chat. We post up technical details, technical knowledge. Then we have sometimes meet up for lunch or dinner.
Oh.
Then we compare each other's cars. We look into each other's cars, because we may notice something that someone else didn't.
Okay. So like the track days and all is also.
Track days. I actually have another separate community for track days. This is actually from SPV Automotive, we mentioned. So when they do go, they'll actually invite their customers to go together.
Oh, okay.
nice. Okay, so the group, as I said, the requirement willing to learn. What else?
And actually have the car lah.
Okay,
It's
actually
a
have
car
the car.
club.
So like
altogether.
the car doesn't have any requirement. Does it have to be like a restored car?
No,
or-
Even can be broken up. That's the idea of the community, to help restore back the car with the
Your
technical
group lah.
knowledge. Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
学霸
How is that 学霸?
学霸 of the car group. All technical stuff inside there. Not just about racing or just talking, all technical.
So like, so you're not really doing modification on like the outer looks or like the exhaust and all that. You don't really do that.
For my car, I try to keep it as stock as possible. Some modifications do need to be done because you can't find the correct or original part.
Yeah.
But for me, it's trying to maintain the original outlook. I
Okay.
do have gauges and meters, but it's more to
Yeah.
monitor the health of the car.
Okay.
Then some of my members would would modify the body kit, make it look nicer, make it look more aggressive.
I'm just curious about one thing, because I sat his car before, and then at the passenger seat, you actually show your passenger the meter as well.
Yes.
Or those.
Yes,
Is
so
there
I-
any specific reason behind it, or?
The meters for me to see, the passenger can't see. So one time my friend told me, why don't you put another set at the passenger, so the passenger can help you monitor
Oh.
During track day, or?
in any situation lah. Because when you're driving, you need to keep your eyes on the road. If the thing starts beeping, you may
don't.
not, or you may not want to actually go figure out what's going on. But if there's a passenger to help you monitor, it's a good thing actually.
Makes sense. Makes sense. That
Okay,
makes
never
sense.
thought of that before.
So this is not really. This is a bit off topic, but like, have you heard like the recent reinforcement from the police department of Malaysia, like saying that they are trying to enforce the exhaust law.
From my understanding of
Yeah.
this exhaust issue is the law has been there for quite a while already.
Okay.
And the law, for what I understand, is you are not allowed to modify it to be too loud. Doesn't mean you cannot modify it.
So that's like the original law.
I
Okay.
think it's still the same. They didn't really change it.
Yeah.
So what I read from news is some people got compound just because they modify it, not necessarily being louder.
Okay.
Mm.
So now they're not really like catching those that are loud. They're just catching anyone that modify their exhaust.
That's what I've read on the news or on the feeds.
okay.
Then they compound them, they impound the car, they send for testing. Then it came out not to be loud. Then they just
Oh my.
it's an inconvenience.
But from what I heard, right, there's some people that actually modify their car. They don't really like change the sound and all. Like some people they modify it to actually make it softer. But do they actually still get?
One case I read about is they modified the tip to look aggressive, to look nicer.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. Then they got compounded for that, which doesn't make sense because it doesn't really affect the sound that much.
Yeah, it's a bit weird coming from the police department. Do you think there's any reason for them to actually started this operation at this time of the age? Like, like MCO causes a lot of problem to a lot of people already. So why do they still enforce this kind of?
What we heard is due to a lot of complaints that started
Yeah.
this whole
Neighborhood.
issue. Yes. So from what I think is, especially those neighborhoods next to highways like LDP or NPE and such, before MCO, these highways there always has traffic.
Yeah,
Even middle night,
always.
you have cars coming in. So even with the normal road noise, car noise, one loud motor pass by, you don't really hear that much difference.
It's not that obvious.
Yes, but now with MCO, the roads being empty, that one car loud will be very obvious. So I think this is where the complaints came from. I think this is how it all started.
Never thought of that from that perspective.
Maybe also because there's a lot more people in the house, so they have become
More people to
cons-
complain from the start with,
yeah.
yes. So if you're not at home, there's no one to complain.
True.
Hopefully, the police department will be a bit more precise with their operation nowadays. So, yeah, moving on from that. Sorry for the tangent and all that. So, this passion that you have right now, what do you think like is the hardest part about it?
For my side is getting information of this old car, certain parts as well, because a lot of documentation is only available in Japan, and being a car so old, it's hard to actually get back this information like the wiring diagrams. Then certain parts are hard to acquire because they stop production.
Then how do you get your hands on it?
How do you search?
Well, that's why we have this technical group that some people may have info that the others don't
The
have.
community.
Yeah, so we help each other.
Ah, all right. That makes sense. That makes sense.
How much have you spent on your car? He
That
once
would
told
really
me he's very poor because his car is just a 2-door car. But then I don't buy all those things.
Oh, it's a
And
running joke that I use. Because, like one time they wanted to transport something, and I apologized, say, "Oh, my car no space. Poor man's car. I can't afford 4-door. I can't afford a 4-door 5-seat car, so I settled with a 2-door 2-seat."
Absolutely
Open the
true.
engine, and then we shall see whether he can afford what house. So we all know that car modification, this passion of yours, is very expensive. What
Well,
how you want to turn around?
Okay, is it more expensive compared to what's the word?
Modify.
Modify. I don't know, like, my brain lack of. Is it modifying like old classic car? Is it more expensive compared to like a new car or like a more recent car?
I think we have to look into the definition of modification, because like me myself is more of restoration, replacing worn old parts, or forced to modify stuff that is no longer available. But you're talking about cost, it all runs down to what you want to modify and what's the extent do you want to modify. Like body kits, exteriors, I won't say it's too expensive.
For classic cars.
Classic cars, finding the actual part will be hard. You may end up needing custom fabrication. That's where the cost is. Like finding parts for Myvi will be cheaper in Egypt because
it's like everywhere. So yours is harder since it's quite rare and quite hard to find.
It's harder to find, but I'll say the cost isn't that much different. Because there's still a community that focus on this car. Like in Malaysia, we do have modes for certain parts, exterior parts.
Is it hard to find the modes?
Usually, most people duplicate themselves. Because we have one member that bought original parts from Japan, then he made a mold so he can duplicate. Because the original parts are no longer in production, you can't find them anymore.
You can't get your hands on them anymore.
That means that restoration and old car takes much more effort and all that.
Effort, yes, but in terms of cost, I think you can lean it out. You don't have
because it's a bit less. Or a tad.
I think it will depend on car to car, different. Like my car, a lot of parts. Toyota likes to share parts throughout its range, so a lot of parts are actually shared with later model of cars, like from the Vios, even the Myvi. They are common parts.
Oh yeah. Myvi is like from what, like
from Daihatsu, then from Toyota, so they share some common parts. So mechanical parts, interior parts, not that hard, but exterior parts, well, we can custom body kits, so it's not really that hard to do.
Okay.
I was trying to ask a question, but I forgot. Never mind. We'll just move on from there. What really motivates you to continue this passion then?
Well, it's one is the love of the car. Then it's hard to find this type of car because they don't make cars like they used to really because of new regulations and such.
So it's like a retro. Is it like a retro feel on it? I see. So there's a reason for you to just like classic cars.
Because it's the car from my childhood.
The nostalgia factor as
Nostalgia factor.
Okay. So, but do you ever consider getting like a new car to play around with?
Well, my train of thought is no matter how a second-hand car will still cost less than buying and maintaining a new car.
Have you ever wondered changing your current car since? Well, I see that you love this car a lot already.
I don't plan to change, but I do plan to get a second one.
The second same one.
And he say he's poor people. He's planning to get a second 2-door car.
So saving.
So 2-door plus 2-door, 4 doors already. Same like everyone else already. How do your family see this hobby, or have you ever get negative?
I'm not causing them any problem. It's not that I'm loaning money from the bank or anything.
I'm sure you received like discouragement before. Or no, not at all.
No, not really.
They just let you go. They let you do
as long as you settle.
There's nothing to talk about actually. I mean, I spend my own money, work on the car.
Or since you didn't actually depend on them to do this passion.
Then it's how do I put it? It's not like you take a loan and pay for the car. It's different. So there's no place for comment because it doesn't really affect any one of them.
True, makes sense.
If your wife is here, how would your wife describe
your
passion?
She would likely recommend that I spend the money on her than the car.
I'm pretty sure that's common.
So you're gonna ask your car is your wife or your slave? And now you have 2 wives. So you're the type that rather spend the money on the automotive wife? Okay. But would you hide your expenses from your wife?
I don't see any need. Because you can't really hide, because when you buy something, Then the thing is in the car, she was able to see where the money is spent. You see?
Yeah, makes sense
I
as
mean, unlike other hobbies or other interests, you may not able to see the expense. But if I change something on the car or add something on the car, it's there. You see it, you touch it, you feel it.
You want to share any story from your friend that hide their expenses?
Well,
you want to share that one particular story?
once I hear a friend mention, so he bought another car.
Okay.
Bring home.
Keep the car somewhere. So he brought the car home. Then he told the wife, "This one not I buy one. My friend bought, but he cannot bring home and tell the wife. So he asked me park in the house."
And
And the wife looked,
at all.
"How come the number plate same as your other car?"
He didn't hide the number plate well enough. Then after that,
Another story I heard from another friend is he ordered parts, expensive parts.
expensive part.
So the parts arrived. The wife asked, "What do you order again? Expensive one or not?" No, very cheap only, very cheap. Then when the children went to touch it, he don't dare to
Scold or anything.
go because he already told the wife it's very
That's
cheap.
So if the children go touch, then the wife will ask a lot of questions already. So for your case, you're a lucky man lah. You don't have this kind of drama.
So far no lah.
So far, the second car coming already. I will update you all what happened.
All right. So another thing is, I want to know, like, if someone, let's say, if someone that wants to get into this passion, like about the restoration of old cars, what kind of advice would you give them? Like, what kind of advice that you wish you know when you started this kind of passion?
It's more like a chicken and egg thing. Until you get the car, only you know what you need to know. But yeah, one thing is you should go through the history, not the car that you get, but the car in general. What kind of problems that most people face? Where do you find technical knowledge on what to restore? Who has the knowledge or know how to restore such kind of car?
Oh, okay. So those are the things that most important that you think should be the most important.
But the easiest would be able to find a group existing group that can support you. Existing car club that can support
just
you.
like joining a community.
Yes.
How you came upon your current community?
I actually founded the small community that we have now.
Oh, you
Oh,
founded it.
okay.
It's something that I wish I had when I got my car.
So you created, and how you find those people?
We were actually in the owners club. The owners club is actually quite big, a couple of hundred people. But not everyone has the same idea or the same approach to
It's
the
very
car.
mass, like it's too mass to
So
specify.
a few of us, we want to more focus on technical and restoration. So we created our own small group to support people with
So now your
similar-
community, how many people?
Around 10 or 20 people.
So
Very
the
small,
smaller
very small.
actually is not like saying a bad thing. It's actually more
More I can
efficient,
say. Yes, more
yeah.
focused, more dedicated.
Oh, diam. Tut Sang, founder of a community here. Fine, luckily I got asked. So, because would there be any disagreements between you guys?
So far, our
Smooth.
group is very open.
Or
We-
open-minded lah?
There's no point in disagreeing someone's point of view. Everyone has different view.
Yeah.
You voice your view because there's no wrong, no right.
Yeah.
So there's no point of arguing. But usually everyone presents the view. Then you take what it is.
So just listen and just
If let's say, touch wood, suddenly an argument broke off, the founder of this community, how will you deal with it?
Well, I actually we have 3 founding members. So
You won't deal with it, you push to them.
so the process of adding a new member is the agreement of all 3.
Oh.
So as long
All
as
3.
more to say that as long as there's no what's the word?
what's the word?
What kind? No
No
bias?
what?
Okay, as long as there's no objection between
One of them. Any one of you guys.
we will add people.
Okay.
We have yet to reject someone or kick someone out of the group so far.
Come, we join. They haven't rejected. We become the first person to reject.
First one to be, you want to be the first one to
we
be
make their
rejected.
history.
Because the owners club, some of them are quite toxic. They tend
How?
to
Okay, by toxic, how toxic?
they are fixed in their views, and they insist that they want you to think that their view is right.
Can we like describe them as they have high ego kind of thing?
I won't say ego because it's a group chat. Don't really see each other. You don't really know each other. I don't see how ego plays a role.
Okay.
But they just really persist with their own ideology.
Even though someone else has a different view, they still insist that theirs is correct. Theirs is the only way.
Oh, so
Then normally, how do you guys like
you guys
dissolve the tension?
just ignore or just
if that happens.
Come to a point that learn that we just
you just not just go with it.
yeah, because before I left the owners group, another member of ours, which is Kazuto Sun. Kazuto Sun is a local actor. Then he also brings in original used Japan rims. So there was a topic about original rims and
Non.
Thailand rims
Thailand.
or copied rims. So it was a very heated argument between him and some members of
Some
members of the community about cost, reliability, and all.
How did it dissolve?
Well, I didn't really follow because some of us has learned to
Shut up.
ignore.
To keep quiet.
Ah.
Just hide inside the shadows.
Yeah, if they see no reaction, they'll just stop something like that. So so in your community, is there like a leader or like
There's 3 of you.
But you guys are like the founding people. So were you guys acting more like a leader of the community or just like a founding member?
Okay, the 2 of us have more knowledge of the car compared to the others. So I would say most of the time when someone asks something, we will be the ones to answer. I won't say that we are the definite leader because everyone has their own direction to go. It's
So-
more like guidance.
Okay. So as the founding father of the community and also the leader of the community, do you have any future plan for the community, or do you have any
What's your
kind of
goal?
objective that you want to reach?
Well,
Any goals? Or
current
just-
goal is just to help out everyone, gain as much knowledge as possible, try to restore back all the cars.
Your goal?
Our personal goal is to try and get a second one.
The second of the same car that you have.
And we actually did plan a trip, but because of
we
MCO,
invited?
The COVID.
Are we invited?
Oh my god. Don't put him at the spot.
Go trip as in how? As in everyone drive their cars and then
because one of our members is from Malacca.
oh,
You guys want to go
guys-
and visit him at Malacca? Oh.
one
okay.
of your members is in Malacca. You're bringing the whole community to find that one member in
So he
Malacca.
can take us go makan.
So that member is in very big danger right now, right? Okay. So if let's say there are youngsters outside who want to pursue this passion like as you are, what advice would you give them? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people wanting to get involved, but because of what he said just now, there's an impression saying you guys are hard to approach. What kind of
Oh yeah. How do they approach you? Like, should they like be afraid of you, or do you have any methods to let these people know you guys?
For us, we are considered a subgroup from the main owners club. So the owners club is actually quite aggressive. They actually actively find people and add them.
Oh.
So it's actually the other way around.
Okay, so from
Okay.
there, then only slowly.
Then you're interested to join only. They can just join.
Well, as long as there's no objection from the other 2.
Okay.
So what advice will you give youngsters that want to join
Okay,
this
the
passion?
first thing I would
Don't
advise.
tell me money.
First thing I advise is your personal responsibility because
How to say?
it's a passion that takes up a lot of resources, time, money. So unless you can manage it, I don't recommend that you go into something that you can't handle. Basically, it's the same like anything else. If you're gonna,
Actually, I'm very curious because you told me before that you work at night. Then what makes you always visit SPV Automotive? Every single time I go there, there sure will be you. You're like one of the staff there already, you know. What makes you lap up at their place more often? That one is like your second house already, you know.
because me and the people, the customers there and the owner there, we become quite close over the years. You know, we go to track together, we go to race together. So since I work at night, my time and schedule is actually a bit
Flexible.
shifted lah. So my breakfast is your lunch.
Oh, okay.
So I wake up, then I go there and join them for lunch.
Oh, okay. You're lucky lah, SP let you hang out there as often as you want. Okay. So, what else? Okay. Can you name out 3 people that influence you the most? Or there's no one influence you, you just started yourself?
In regards to?
In regards to your automotive passion.
Well, no.
Because couldn't be just a video game and then you're keen to it until now.
I would say that is the case lah.
Oh, okay.
That's how most guys get interested in cars from the game. You look at TV shows, broadcasts, magazines, and everyone has their dream car or their second best dream car, the affordable one and non-affordable one.
So for now you can afford the second one already?
Not yet lah. Because you don't want this to be a burden to yourself, so you don't go all out. So until I have enough to splurge on it,
They only use spend it. Okay.
So in order to pursue this passion, you just have to have self-responsibility and then just
I would
self-discipline on your
say
savings or
it's
those.
the same as any passion lah. Maybe automotive or other passion.
Why don't you want to like get fully involved in automotive? Why still going for your IT?
It's not my field. It's not my part
Interest?
of expertise. I mean, we still need to put rice on the table.
But have you ever considered like
Changing?
transition into the automotive industry?
SPV has approached me with a few ideas. We are looking into some potential market because a lot of new cars now are computer-based, electronic based.
electronic cars already
So
now.
we are looking into potential prospects on it.
So when that happens, will you transition into?
We see how things go lah. But of course I still have to maintain my main.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Lastly, curiously, what kind of drivers that you most pay tahan? Because you treat your car like a wife, I'm pretty sure some habit of a driver will push all your buttons.
Well, I'll say everyone may have the same view lah. If everyone can follow the rule of the road, then there's not much of a problem.
But what's yours? What's the one thing that push your buttons if you see any driver like didn't take care of car, didn't wash your car, or dented, or how?
That one is
Normal.
not my part to say already.
So I see what kind of thing that you cannot tahan, but then cannot change as well also.
Like how they clean their car.
Or you mean in terms of ownership of the car?
Taking
what's
care
the
of
most
their car.
pay tahan?
Not understanding your car enough.
Not understand. How
Like
so
how
not
so?
understand?
Like some people just don't care. Something wrong, they just send. They never take care, they never bother. This is what I feel that
Because
I can't do.
if let's say it's us, we don't know much about cars, we just think, oh, got sound, then I send it to fix.
That is one thing. Some people got sound also don't care.
Okay.
Until the car cannot start only.
Yeah, some people really just don't care. Like personally, Personally, I'm not
The
saying
brother
that
don't
you will hate me lah, but personally I also don't really care lah, as long as the car can run and all
Oh.
that. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. Okay, let's end it.
So I guess that's that for
Thank you for suggestion.
that lah. So that's it for today. Thank you, Mr. Goy, for coming to our podcast. Really appreciate for sharing your knowledge, experience, and all that.
And your
Yeah, expertise and all
Stories.
that. Yeah, the story, interesting stories, and letting us know that you're getting the same car, which is very interesting. But yeah, that's it for today's episode. Make sure you guys hit the like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. And if you enjoyed this, you share it to someone. You know, we need some people to know more about show. So sharing any action will help. What do you have
if
to
you
say?
have any technical questions that you would like ask, you can also leave down at the comments below. We can transfer you to.
Yes, he's an
So-
expert as well. So
Oh,
you
we
can ask him.
Okay.
So that's it for today, and we'll see you next week. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.